Lone Wolf Show. And my lovely co-hosts, Munistera, coming all the way from Kansas, and my lovely wife, Patricia. And today we're just kind of kicking around, but we have a very special guest backstage who has recently implemented or is working on a new project. And I can't wait to hear all about it. Something in the capacity of a witch college. Witch college is innovative and new. I've never would have thought. Love to bring them in. Ed Hubbard, everybody.
Good evening, everybody, and blessed Hallows Eve.
Welcome, Ed the Pig.
Yep, since 1995. Uh, I've always tickled me about that name. Um, but yeah, which college? That's the next thing. It's part of the Pagan World Project. Yep. Uh, People who don't know, 22 years ago, I did witch school. It grew. It matured. It's on its own now. It's in a different order than that. And this one, uh, which college is really a trade school. There are a couple of seminaries. Wolstein, Belladonna runs a great college with Wolstein EDU. They've got Wiccan Seminary EDU. There's Cherry Hill. So let me go ahead and say that there are some really major forms of college already out there. There is the beginning of a trade thing, and there are now dozens and dozens of schools. So which college has become mine? But it's like, why do we need one? And that's when people have asked me about.
And what did they say? What? Why do we need one, Ed?
We need a trade school. Let me be perfectly frank. So the difference, which school was about training people, and we've done thousands of clergy, and people have gone off and formed traditions and groups. I mean, all over the place. But that taught them to identify. Which school is about identity. Which college? About how to earn a living, how to make these things apply to the real world. Some of it will be historical. Got some great history. We're going to start out with Witch Starter, which has got some of the biggest names in our industry, the most trained people to teach about their traditions. So we're going to start everybody with the same ideology of all of them, Christian, heathen, as well as Wiccan, all of that. Appellation, I'm very excited about that. But also how to run a business. I've got people, one of the certificates is a metaphysical retailer's certificate. So that's one of the ideas out there. So there's, psychic studies, how to run businesses, how to upgrade our community. And some of that, so a trade school, as much as it is sort of that straight across. And we're going to work with more of the sophisticated ones to do the sort of bachelor's and degrees. So we're going to see this as a cooperative effort as well.
Will it be accredited? Will it be an accredited college?
Well, accreditation is a tricky thing. So we're going to pursue two types of accreditation. Right now, there's a Wiccan accreditation going on, being led by members of the ATC, which is a fabulous program. It'll take at least a year to get some of our programs set into that to see it qualify. It'll take years to get accreditation. I mean, no one accredited is. This is a big fight in our community. Part of why I'm taking this on is to do so. But I'm also looking at micro certifications that they're using in the tech industry, like for 365 and things of that nature. How to operate a metaphysical. What are all the products in metaphysical for using a point of sale service? Can we teach that? Can we teach the practical influencer stuff? But also, we can work with some of these companies that are certifying legally for jobs and things like that, and get their trainers in our system so that we can certify people on Oracle and other sorts of software, especially with the AI stuff coming. We're going to have to teach people how to use it, and we can work with outside programmers. And third, we're going to work with real colleges. I mean, I've talked to Danville. I've talked to a couple of other community colleges about how people can take classes with them, and those will be accredited classes for those things that need accreditation. So we can work with community colleges. So in a lot of ways, it's an experimental college, kind of like the old-fashioned ones. Accreditation, we're hoping for it. Got to work for it. It's a long, tedious road, but yes, we're looking for it.
Is which college operational right now?
January 11th. Yes, on January 11th, it goes live. Based on a different architecture than I've used before. Some of the newest architecture, Web 3.0.
Any particular reasoning for the date of January 11th?
Sure, that's when I started my Pagan Leadership Conference in 1994 out of the Parliament of World's Religions. I have in the crystal web for me 111. It is 11 day. It is astrologically a good day. All of those things. I mean, let me be honest. I can give you like, oh, there's some sort of reason. No, it's like the best day astrologically for me to start it. In numerology, you know. And it's a significant day for me. It's a day I've launched other projects. I tend to try to do things. Only I could have 4 days. That way, I don't have to remember anniversaries.
So what's the process for admittance to which college?
So again, very much like we've done before with other projects, it'll be open to the public. We'll have a front door. We'll have some classes there. Far fewer than Witch School. Witch School had a ton of them, but no, far fewer. But we're going to be, get them out there, get them on the system. People who have gone through our Kickstarter campaign or are pre-approved will get their code numbers. They'll go onto the site. You fill it out. Only time you need to put out legal identity. We're not asking for legal identity, except if you need certification or accreditation. We have to do that in real names. It doesn't have to be exposed or shown. But so for people who don't want to use their names, they're not really looking for anything but high quality, amazing education. Then they just sign up. They get access. We'll have a very basic service. We'll have a level 1 service and a level 2 service. Right now, we're going to charge $100 lifetime membership that I've done before. It works, 22 years, for level 1 and $299 for level 2. These will not stick as the college matures and as the community comes to consensus what it needs to look like. So will those prices, but we'll always honor these, as we have.
And do you, as far as which college goes, is there any particular witchcraft traditions that it's stemming from, or is it universal? Is it eclectic? How is that? What's the infrastructure like?
First of all, it's based on volunteer. I mean, we're paying teachers. This is something going to be different. We're going to use a lot of work for hire contracts. For non-exclusive, here's the term. If you want to do it for your thing, and you can do it for you, it's a non-exclusive usage for the duration of the course, which means we're buying the right for you to give the class, the teachers. We've talked to some major teachers. Just finished with Jason Mankey today. He's going to talk to the Witch Starter Gardnerian. Byron Ballard, a good friend of ours in the community, is going to do Appalachian Magic, and she's going to also do a thing on work ethic. Rolando out of the Philippines is coming in to teach Philippine magic into our starter group. And this is a class we're going to force everybody through. And that's a $25 class if you don't want to buy it any other way. You want to buy it. 6 weeks, 12 modules, and it'll cover the entire witch culture. We got other people doing history, eldership. So it's really broad spectrum. It's everybody I can bring into. Greg out of Nashville is going to do his folk magic so that people know what that type of it is. It really is about giving them a broad education in whatever it is that's necessary to get them up to culture. And from there, it depends on who wants to teach and who doesn't. So yeah, and that's where it is.
Will this be like lectures, or will it be done or online, like stuff? How will the classes be?
So it'll be a combination of things. That's a great question. The first time through, every class is going to be a live lecture through a Zoom platform or similar platform. We're working with a couple of, that's one of the things we're working on is which platform we're going to use, but Zoom we like. So yeah, they'll have that sort of lecture where the person gives a live lecture or a recorded lecture with a live teacher called a guided class. And those will meet every week. And that's going to be the first 2 to 3 years. Definitely that's going to be the primary thing. It's going to be live things. We're also something called a collegium, which is how pagans used to educate themselves. They didn't, this entire industrial system of education, the degrees, the timing, the clocks, and all of this is all really industrial age, all very Christian Renaissance, and that's where that emerged. Prior to that, we had Socrates and Pythagoras and all of these teachers, and they would come together to teach. And we're going to do a lot of that in the first 3 years. We have Janet Callahan who's going to be doing K through 12 education, both how to get it, what we need to find to get a certificate, certified teachers, accredited teachers with a pagan background. And they're expecting that to be 5 or 6 years, while developing K through 12. These are some of the examples, of what those are doing. So A lot of it's going to be symposiums at first, monthly classes, and some of it's structured, like which there is a structured class. Psychic 101 that Reverend Don's going to teach. He's committed to teaching the whole 4-year degree, just like he's done with the Correllian education system, and he has all those degrees. He's now going to do it, spend the next 5 years of his life developing his psychic work that he's done. And he's going to do it live. He's going to do live lectures that turn into texts and courses and tests and symposiums, and then eventually books. So this is that funnel. It has all of that capability. This is the age where a lot more, this is 2,700 times more powerful than when I started Witch School in 2021. 2001. Oh my gosh. So I hope that explains some of it.
Yeah. So what about Witch School? Is the curriculum going to be updated? Is that still going to be?
I am no longer involved with Witch School. I left them. I'm no longer a member of any of the board or anything Correllian. I've really because I didn't want a conflict of interest. Lori Blackman is, I think the dean now is doing it. It's under Correllian Education Ministry, a 501c3 of its own right. I am so proud of the structure. Thousands of people have graduated and all of that. And that they're maintaining. It's built and maintained. And so, yeah, I'm really proud. It became a seminary. It's become like one of the more predominant seminary, along with Wolstein and Cherry Hill and some of the others. I mean, it went from being a very popular school. It was originally intended to be popular. It did that. And now it's streamlined itself into serving as a seminary.
Mr. Hubbard, are you a representative of the Correllian tradition?
Not at this time. I'm just my own self. I am not an officer. I am not a board of members. Never been a financial officer. Oh my God, you couldn't get me to do that. That's insane. No, I mean, I left the board March 3rd. I resigned from all my position back in March. I have to do this project, and Pagan World Project is involved with Pagan World TV. So in order to represent a larger community, I am, after all, known as the Pagan. And I didn't need to be there. I was becoming a toxic elder. I was in danger of becoming a toxic elder for them. What does that mean? These people have 20 years of experience, some of them more. A lot of them have been training, since they were teenagers. So why not give them the tools? Just because it wasn't exciting enough for me, I need to be building. I'm a startup guy, and so I just that. Part of it has also been caring for Don Lewis over the summer, as people may know, and now he's more in a living assisted situation. And I just came to Chicago last week. Back to Chicago. Not only am I not that, I don't even have a house to my name. I'm living at my friend's air mattress in my friend's back room, Dan. So I have literally stripped down to nothing to start this.
Do you think you'll start up your own tradition?
Oh, God, no.
No.
I didn't start the Correllian tradition. I just did Witch School. I had really very little with the Correllian tradition. I create platforms. What do? I create platforms. I create for platforms so people can build on them. Reverend Don Lewis built the Correllian tradition. The family built a tradition. I built the platforms that they worked for, the legal situations. I was the first director, got them into making sure everything was legal. I've done that for a lot of groups. I've done that for more than 100 groups across the United States. So I'm that type of individual. I built the Witch School platform that was offered to everybody. Some people have used it. Some people have not. Correllians obviously used it the best. So that they all there, there was always officers running that. I'm not a ritualist. So me starting my own tradition, not so much. My own group, I have the Black Moon Coven, which is really excited about tomorrow. But that's a 25-year-old Gardnerian coven out of Chicago that has very little to do with anything else. That's a handful of us. So I have an old-fashioned coven. What I am going to do, is continue on with it. The Order of Library, the Witch College, that's where I'm focusing my energy. The Pagan World Project, the directory, making connections. Because what I saw out of the Parliament, I've got a lot of work before the next one.
Mr. Hubbard, I just got two questions out of that. When we're talking, I'm going to jump right on the Parliament because you said Parliament. When we're talking about the Parliament, it seems like from viewing from the sidelines, because I didn't get to participate in Parliament, although I wanted to, and that could definitely be an option in the future. But what I seen from Parliament was a bunch of pagan elders coming together and then exploring an avenue of interfaith community. And my question is, what does interfaith community in the pagan slant mean to you?
Well, I've gone to, I was a staff member of the original parliament, as well as I've been to every parliament that's happened. I'm one of the very few that have. And for me, parliament is about how we communicate to the world and other faiths, and how we communicate to the gods. How tolerant are we really? And to kind of talk about mutual problems and expectations. And that's always been there. For me, it's always been, and we finally, after 30 years, got our people, the Corellian tradition in this case, on the main stage. We were there with every other religion, side by side, at the opening stage, being there. And that was essential. We have to look for what they call moral equivalency. The more we're seen with other leadership in other places, just the pictures of them, it shows moral equivalency. When they go after us, you can say, well, here I am with the Vicar of Christ. You know, that's sort of the vice cardinal. This is me with the leader of the Buddhist groups and all of these sort of things. It's hard to argue against people that you know. Patrick McCollum is a master of this. Patrick McCollum, I stand in awe. And me and Patrick McCollum have long since talked about Parliament. I mean, he was there this time, much more. So pray for his continued health. He went against his doctor's order to go to the Parliament. It was so important for him. Yeah, he did. And then Oberon was there. It was the only second time he was there. I was able to walk around with him. So we had these elders who were having their eyes opened up. But what happened amongst the younger people was the real shocker.
Next question is a little bit different. In terms of, is capitalism and consumerist values affecting what is modern day paganism in a negative, baneful way?
First of all, understand paganism is a marketplace religion. It exists not because of the work of the elders. It is because of the work of the marketplace. Llewellyn and Karl Llewellyn Wachesky.
Good point.
Is the capitalist. He spent his capital, his real money. He put his money at risk. And he is the number one, I think, by far the most influential pagan of the 20th century, in the early 21st century. When I teach history, that's what I'm going to teach, because what he did is he brought them to the world. He brought them to the marketplace. You know, I already had Sybil Leek do it. Of course, Gardner was a master of this. You know, Buckland was a master of this. So the marketplace, you know, combined with some of the television, radio, created the market. There used to be an insult. You know, you're a Llewellyn book pagan. You know, the elders of that, the ones right before these guys, were like insulting. You had to attend real life things, but there were not enough people to attend it. There just wasn't enough teachers. There still isn't enough teachers to do live training, not even close. Witch School was formed out of the need of it. You know, that's why we formed it. It wasn't because we wanted to be all over the internet. It's because we had students in the nearby areas that could not take classes because they couldn't drive an hour and a half or 2 hours every month to take a single class. So this drive of getting information out, books out, absolutely the best thing in the world. The internet, Zoom, all of it, I think is great. And these are all artifacts of capitalism. What we didn't do as a community is pay attention to the other side of it. And that was, we didn't set up trusts. Our churches were fly by night. We cared more about our personal fights. We polyamory. And the place that you do see our wealth increase is in the festivals. Wisteria. You have Gaia Camp. You have Four Corners. So you see these big camps forming. So we did spend quite a bit of money. And through capitalism and through these sort of things, and through the consumerism, you see these camps form. Okay, those are all the right things about capitalism. Okay, I can tell you what it's not done for us. It didn't make us healthier or wealthier. In fact, it did the opposite. It drained away money constantly from us, combined with the fact that we're not supposed to charge for our services, and that most of the services we could offer were not considered, are not within the mainstream. Like acupuncture in my life went from crack science to now being covered by insurance. Now Reiki's starting to be covered. We're starting to see some of these services, and this is why we need to train and why we need more ability, is now becoming covered by insurance and ways of making a living. So capitalism helped us grow our faith all over the world, but it kept us from earning enough money or systems to make sure that our elders, what's happened to all of the elders right now that we're going through the process of, happen. Selling off libraries, selling off their artifacts. I mean, there should be a market for that. I mean, we should have some big place for that, and maybe some, Steve Intermill might be someday in charge of like, okay, we've got all of these artifacts from X. I'm not even going to name their names, whoever they are, X elder, and we need to get, distribute these. Wouldn't it be nice to have a chain of museums? That's what we could have. But what we don't have is community ownership. And that's the real argument. Does the community want to own itself? And how to do that, and how to do that successfully? And I will tell you, I don't have that answer. I wish I did. But I got theories and solutions, and that's where Which College comes in. I think that if people had more, if the stores had better staff, if they didn't have to spend 100 hours training their staff, and they had some of that training in, somebody who knew incense, somebody who understood herbs, somebody who understood how that back room worked, how long these sort of things worked ahead of time, they would save a lot of money, and they would be very supportive of that. And then if you brought in this certificate that you've gotten this knowledge and prove that you've gotten this knowledge, it would give you a hands up into getting a job at these things. And these people would not be hiring just their friends and family and looking for staff, but they could get trained staff. The more we can get trained staff in all of these positions, volunteer and non-volunteer, paid and not paid, we'd be better off. We'll be able to act in the world instead of trying to chase policy like we're doing with all of the protesters. We can lead policy, meaning we can send somebody to the State House and be able to afford to send them with a grievance and our petitions and our noise. I mean, it's not our system I'd prefer. I'm a big believer in future fully automated communism. Let the machines work for us and give us everything we need. I'm a big believer in that. I hope we get there.
And how do you see the AI technology influencing witchcraft education?
Oh, it already has. It already has. I mean, just the theft of the copyrights in one way of looking at of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books.
But the authors.
Yeah, including Don, Reverend Don, my company, Ag Publishing, we've been stolen from. We're not so concerned about it because we're a religion. We want our stuff to materialize. We've got certain things in place where we can give away more of our books. We're not as concerned of it. We use a lot of common creatives so that our temples can use it, because I think copyrights is a dangerous, dangerous place. I saw it with Z Budapest over the We Are All From the Goddess. I mean, I was in the middle of that fight. I was defending her right to do it. People didn't like it. So we're a marketplace religion, which means we're a copyright religion. Most people who are writing their books don't realize that when they pass away, unless somebody's picking up their books, they're going to be sitting in a closet for 75 years. So that's a huge gap of information. So how are we going to handle that? How can we do a better job with that? So AI could make sure, with blockchain is the answer. Blockchain is how we're going to run the Which College library, which means it's like a Bitcoin, a lot cheaper, but it's a coin. It's going to have a book on it or lots of books. And I can give it to you. I won't have it anymore. You will. So the internet's become physical. Okay. So one of the important things, mind to materialization. Mind to materialization is a big word. We teach it. What you think on the internet can be created fast into the physical world as well as the cyber world. You could have a book from just your words, maybe some old videos, to on Amazon in 7 days. So what is it not going to affect?
Pretty amazing for that.
So it's the same question people have asked me. What did the internet mean in 1993? Somebody actually literally in the town I was in was trying to build a citywide Wi-Fi. It ever went over to Czechoslovakia at the time, the system I built, because they didn't want it in the United States. They asked me, what could the internet do for you in 1995? I was asked in 2010, why do we want to have a social site? Why do we want to be on Facebook? I fought in this every time. Why do we need to move away from Yahoo groups? Remember Yahoo groups when they were the rage? Every single time we've turned around, we've been cell phones. I will never have a telephone. I will never give up my pager. So we say we won't adapt these, but every single time the majority of society does, and there's not much we can do about it because they save time, convenience, and that's what it is. The entirety of the back end of Witch College is going to have, just like the back end of Witch School, is all going to be automated. So it's it's not going to take human time. Witch School worked because it didn't have an administration on the back end. It still doesn't. It runs whether there's somebody there or not. And the same will be for Witch College. No matter what time of day it is, you'll be able to work it from the back end. The transcripts, the recordings, the study groups. They're going to have a dozen study groups. They're going to be running consistently. All of that will be affected by AI because it'll be all back end automation. That's why I'm so impressed with it.
The brand of Witch College, it college. So where would you recommend people go to high school?
Oh, they can go to high school anywhere they choose to. You mean that's the thing is, and they can do GED. I don't care if they finish high school.
I'm not talking about academics. I'm talking about perhaps which high school.
So I think, Janet, there's some people who are building that right now. There's a number of things like that. I think Witch School is high school. I do think of it. I think of it as a very simple. Okay. It brings you through the third degree. They teach you all of the auxiliary pieces of it. At 18 years old, you can become a legal clergy by law. So I really think a lot of the early people who are involved with it were in high school when they took the program. So if you really wanted me to place Witch School in its place, Witch School is the high school. Sacred Wisdom School, I would see very much like that. Anything that's really just teaching you how to act in the world. There's a number of them that are out there. But for witches, I think that's one. I think Wolstein has some really good early stuff. And there are some really great stuff coming out of the thing. There's at least 2 groups right now working on a K1 through 12 program that's going to be incorporated. We're going to incorporate them into ours. That's the other side of it. We're not going to try building this. This is not going to be a hierarchical system. This is going to be, because we can do it on the 3.0, decentralized. So we aren't limited by some linear consciousness. I mean, we're not limited to the number of buildings we've got. You want to do something, we can put up a building. This is not just website building, but this is called Web 3.0 and hyperweb building. I've been involved. I've changed everything every time that I've gone into these changes. This is as big a change as 2009. This is as big a change as 2001. This is as big a change as 1993. Probably deeper. 93 was probably the deepest. But let me tell you, this is a huge change. You're not even going to recognize the internet. I've seen it. By 2025, you're not even going to recognize a lot of the internet. A lot of people are going to be complaining about us leaving phones behind for more personal items. The phone's going to become a box, and we're going to have more and more personal items. Blue wired and everything else. AI, glasses. It's changing. It's going to change so fast. And yet we will not notice it until we go look backward. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is only 13 years old. Do you remember a time without it?
I remember Saved by the Bell, and I used to want a cell phone. I mean,
those big old things.
Yeah.
Big old phones.
So yeah, which college? Brand new. What's the website? How do you get in touch?
So right now, our setup site, so you can become involved with it, is witchcollege.org.
Okay.
It's off the Pagan World platform as we're building the other site, and you just go right there. You can sign up, and you're right there. And you're right there, and you can see as we're building it, as we're talking about it. I don't know if you want to become an early member. We have a Witch Starter campaign starting over on witchstarter.com. Kind of fancy, part of the Kickstarter system. And you can take a library card, $10. And that's one of the most exciting parts of this project, I think, for people. I've gotten more action out of the library than I think anything else people want. And that is virtual library and a physical lending library. And using it through shipping and handling and through decentralized. I have more than I didn't even think about it. I had one we're going to set up here in Chicago. I have 7 other groups that want to have libraries that they can open to the public. So books are essential. So there it is, witchcollege.org. Sign up for the group. Witch Starter if you want to take an early membership.
What exactly is Witch Starter?
Witch Starter was something started by Kickstarter program for a month-long campaign that raised last year $1.8 million over 354 projects that were dedicated to magic and Wicca and all sorts of all those subjects. So, and now Kickstarter is doing it again this year. And I grabbed Witchstarter.name because they didn't. And they've been doing it there. Goddess Tarot just did a book out of it. They just got like financed for $25,000. I'm just looking just to see it out there. There are a number of projects. So we got projects out there that are making like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And Kickstarter, during the month of October, is promoting those to help them do it. And they're having a 70% completion rate. I'm a big believer in Kickstarter and Indiegogo and crowdfunding.
Now, do you have a list of teachers or classes yet?
We do, and we're going to be sharing some of that in the next day or so. We're going to be sharing more of it. Of course, we've announced Reverend Don's going to take on a 5-year commitment contract. Trying to get more professional these days, and so he's going to do the Psychic 101 piece, part of Psychic Academy, which was an earlier project that everybody agreed to incorporate. We have Witchstarter, which, as I mentioned, I'll be mentioning more names, but we've gotten those. I talked about earlier. We have Rolando Coleman, who went to the Parliament, did a really good job. Is going to be teaching Filipino magic, indigenous magic here. We've talked to some of the other people. I don't want to put anyone out there right now because we're still doing a little bit of fundraising. So I don't want them to feel like I'm using their names just to do fundraising. So I've kind of avoided some of that. Who do I... I'll tell you history. Me and Oberon he's been handing me back and forth. I have like maybe 500 pages from Oberon and other elders of history, like timeline history that needs to be quantified. So not only are we going to have like a history class, we're going to have to quantify what the history we're teaching.
Explain quantify. What's it mean to quantify the history? What does that mean?
Meaning who's going to put it in. So you can have history in two ways. You can have a cleansed history. Right. This is history, founding fathers and all of that. And that's a very neat, very clean history you tend to teach to children. It also tends to be propaganda and other things of that nature. To quantify means everybody puts out their documents and they're kind of looking at them. They're kind of talking about them. And then when you quantify, it says, well, Jason Mank is a good example. He's going to do garden area. He's going to talk about all of that. And somebody says, well, I agree with this, but here's some more information. Either this is my information. And they both sit side by side. And then you can say, well, this is all agreed upon. So we can move that over to an agreed upon pile. And that makes it easier to write textbooks. Because remember, to write real textbooks, remember, we're not just doing this to affect our world. This college is going to create teaching textbooks. Mm-hmm. So how do you do teaching textbooks? You lay up all these teachers that they all peer review themselves and they all agree to what's over and to X for the X decision for the book. And that takes years and experts and people who've been involved to do so. I can project manage it. I could never think about writing it. So I have to get the very best writers. I've talked to Kat Cole. I've talked to Oberon. Plus you got to remember, I have more than 6,000 hours of video, including interviews with people who've passed. That'll be included in there. I have over 6,000 hours of audio interviews. I've got maybe 2,000 unprocessed audio, mixes. So there's going to be a lot of things they can research. So what I mean by quantify is, can it be put out there? Can it be given a date? Can it be given informational tags so people can look it up? I'm not just a believer. I've never censored anything. I don't believe in censorship. I really don't. Mm-hmm.
Great, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
No censorship.
And if you ever look at some of the other projects I've done that are long-lasting, Magic TV, we interviewed everybody. We still interview everybody. Matt Pratt,
great channel.
Yeah, and a lot of people that have, and I'm so happy that so many people have gone on to do it more. I'm very proud of you. The fact that you guys are moving on to Witchcraft TV, Witchcraft TV Online. I'm looking forward to it. I need more entertainment. I do, and I think there's not enough. People don't understand. There's not enough out there, right? This is not competition. Competition is for those who are on the bottom who feel like they have to work their way up. But at the top of the level, you have cooperation. Because we realize the audience is so big. The audience is over 2 million people. So until we're starting to scramble over who's going to get that, that half point that makes a difference, we should all be working in the same direction. And we do. YouTube is out there. And so I'm a big believer in open platforms. Pagans Tonight Radio, 7 days a week. oh my God, we have made so many hosts, and it spawned so many radio shows and so many podcasts. So I'm very fortunate in that I have these early projects that I get involved very early into, and then they get duplicated, and then you get sent out there, and people start doing more of it, and we're growing because of it. And and Witch College is another one of those. I fully expect I might be one of the first to do it this style, but I guarantee in 10 years, almost every major tradition will have some form of online college of their own.
Do you feel like Oberon Zell's leading the interfaith movement right now in the pagan community?
No.
Was that a group effort? Do you think that's a group effort?
I do so, and I think it is also Twyla York, really, Phyllis Karat. I mean, they stood there. Arthur, Andros.
There we go. That's it.
Those are the people who did the work. I mean, they've been members of the parliament. They've been there for 30 years. Selena Fox.
Mm-hmm. Right.
She's always been in the interfaith. Oberon Zell does something more important, and I think he does something very important. He's intra-faith.
Mm-hmm. I referenced Oberon Zell because he came out with a particular banner with
I know.
A multitude of different pagan traditions, and it came out right after Parliament. So I'm thinking
it was inspired by Parliament.
Yes.
We talked about this. Me and Oberon talked quite a bit, and he was inspired. He was upset. So Oberon Zell was very upset that all the pagan groups were not all together in one spot in the shipping area. 2, he was very upset that he wasn't being called on to do things, as is sort of the idea of it. He was there as a wizard, and we had this one room, which is fine. It's just so traditional Parliament. That was where we had met, but he felt it was so far away from all the others. He felt like we weren't a unified force there. And guess what? We're not. We're not a unified force. We all worked really hard to get there. We are a coalition, but we're not a unified force. We can't be a unified force. The Corellians represented themselves. Phyllis Karat represented women and her groups and Wicca, but she also represented much more interfaith as the program manager. She had to be. She was the most interfaith person we have is a woman by the name of Phyllis Karat, by far. She knows more interfaith leaders. She does more of it than any other person. So anyone else who thinks they're second best, if you want to be in an interfaith movement, you've got to go to Phyllis Karat. And Twyla York has been her assistant. And there's others. I mean, Angie Buchanan's done well. Jerry Higginbrand, out of Salem. I've got that. Jerry Hildebrand. Also, you've got River Higginbotham. All of these people are involved with the interfaith movement.
Mm-hmm.
Oberon's, this was his second time, and he feels a little shattered. And he in 2008, he didn't like what was happening because it isn't his version. It isn't his story. And it's hard. And to be a full disclosure, I'm a chief disciple of his of Gaia Theosis, and I'm working with him on that project. But I do not work with him on any other parts because he's got his own interests. But that poster is a beautiful idea. Mm-hmm. But it goes against one concept, and you've mentioned this before. We've gotten into this a little bit online, and I actually agree with more. I don't believe in a unified. People have heard me say it, and Pagan World Projects and all of my projects is I don't believe in a unified pagan world. I just don't. I don't think it's not sensible. It's not logical. We're dandelions. We root deep when we find them there. Sometimes we could fill an entire field, or we can be just by ourselves and blow the seeds across the skies. That's important. The knowledge is important. But we can be a connected world. We can be connected and honor each other's systems, each other's religion, each other's faith. Or not. I mean, we choose not to. I don't think we have to be nice to each other because, we're all one group. I don't. I think sometimes we can be competitive against each other. Sometimes we're cooperative. We have all the same things. And that's the only way we're going to survive is to be engaged. And whatever that means.
Well, I think at the end of the day, we're all nature-based friendly. I mean, the same concept with Mother Nature, I think, ties all of us together because we're all pagans.
And the other thing I think that's emerging is ancestors. Ancestors emerged in a way that it did when I was a kid. It was spirit work and all of that. But you're right. What you were just talking about, nature worship, right? Was it? But ancestors amongst the younger generation, really deep. I mean, I'm pretty proud of it, but it's beyond me. They're doing a work level that is beyond me to do.
So one more time, what's the website for which college? Where can people inquire about that again?
Whichcollege.org.
Pretty simple, whichcollege.org. And
That's it.
so when you get to the website, there's some paperwork to fill out, emails.
No, you just join the site. This is just right now. Just join the site, and say I want to be a member of this, and we're going to let you on in. This is where we're going to talk about things and develop things and develop ideas, and show you. So this will be where our beta testing, and then when we start putting things online, this will be where our beta test is. On January 11th, that will become the opening site. You go there, just like Which School, just like anyone else. You fill out your form. And you decide at what level you want to try some of the classes for free. You want to try some of, you're going to start the brand new Witch Starter. It's going to have so many of these great teachers. Oh, I'm so impressed by that. Teachers, and you get a good culture on it. That's going to be required of every student. That's where we're going to start. We're going to ground them in the diversity. I'm talking to a fantastic LGBT individual. I'm also talking to an individual who believes deep monogamy is a monogamous pagan, and they're going to talk about that in the sexuality thing. We have all of that, so we're going to have like 4 or 5 different speakers for like the sexuality piece. So it's going to be not one point of view. So we get there, and then you sign up for classes. Psychic 101 is going to already be ongoing. Psychic 102, we're going to have probably the first thing out in February. We'll have the teaching symposium. So January 11th, it'll change over, but right now, everything wraps around whichcollege.org. Keep it really simple.
Whichcollege.org. Ed Hubbard, right here on the Lone Wolf Show on Witchcraft TV. Monica, did you add something?
Oh, I just look forward to seeing it get off the ground on January 11th. It's going to be very interesting, and I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think what you're doing as well is going to be, I think Witchcraft TV, whatever they want to say. I do really think that what you're doing is good. I think there is, especially with your core training, what you're doing is exactly what's needed. We need more teaching because you teach core witchcraft. I'm not sure what that is. I have no doubt it's solid. I mean, it's well trained. I've seen your stories. How do we get that out there in the world? I mean, that's what you're doing. How do we get more of that out into the world? And I think you guys are right at it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Witchcraft TV is a platform for all voices in the pagan community with absolutely no dictatorship at all. Everyone has a voice.
I can't be more impressed with that.
So thank you so much for coming on, Mr. Hubbard. I have one more question before we can wrap up the interview, and it's more of a personal question because, I don't think I've ever asked you, and we've had you on as a guest. Actually, no, I have 2 more. The first one is, when I had you on a guest, when we had met and spoke at Trees of Avalon gathering in Florida, I think a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, I asked you what kind of spirituality you identify as. And I think I asked you, basically, what are you labeling yourself as? And you said that you were a Gaiist.
Yes, I am.
And you said you were a Gaiist. And recently, I think maybe a few months back, you made some kind of public announcement that you were, in fact, a witch. And I know these are just labels, and maybe they are just labels. Is there a reason why you changed, or is it?
No, no, I've always been a witch. Okay. So Gaiism is the actual scientific, the basic, what I could explain to a theologian. I'm a Gaiist at a theological level. I believe nature is all the God I'll ever know. And that nature and the idea of a living goddess is essential to my spirituality.
Right.
My art, my technology, and my practices are witches, and Corellian and Gardnerian. I have 3 degrees in both. I also have a few other little bit, but I am a Wiccan and a witch in my practices. Witch means my skills and my crafts, meaning the spell work I do, the candles. It has nothing to do with the gods or the faith. It's how do you work with the spirits. So nature's how we live, how I praise, how I breathe. My craft is the witches. I want everybody to know that I identify Byron Ballard has been talking about circles on the ground and identifying as a witch. So I want more people to be able to come out as a witch, because more people identify as witch, especially that, right? And then I'm a pagan. I've been labeled a pagan on the macro level. Media did it to me in 1995.
Yeah, Ed the Pagan. Yeah,
right.
gotcha.
And I've known that sort of thing. And the reason I kept that name is I might be the only pagan you know. And I am a pagan. I have lots of pagan practices, which I believe, again, goes back to Gaiaism. But yeah, I'm a Gaiaist, a witch, and a pagan. In that order.
The last question I have is, everybody in the community knows that you have loyalty for Don Lewis, that you love Don Lewis, and that you're very supportive of his endeavors. And my question to you is, where did you meet Don Lewis?
So I met Don Lewis when I was 28 years old. I got a strange letter. I don't know where it came from, that I should do tarot readings for J&M Psychic Fair. And I went out and tried out for them. They hired me immediately. They were looking for a white boy that had new age kind of tendencies. They didn't realize I'd already been a practicing witch. I kept that hidden because we did that in the 90s. They hired me. And then all of a sudden we went out. And they said I can only work ones I can reach because I don't drive. I do not drive. It's a handicap, a terrible handicap, but I cannot drive. And so they said, oh, we have this gentleman who doesn't live too far from you who wants to, he'll take it for splitting gas. I said, oh, terrific. And that was Don. And we argued and we driving forth, and finally said, we need your help. And at that time, I had really gotten to a place where I wanted to make a difference. I really wanted to make a difference. And so I said, I'll help you. So in a lot of ways, at that moment, Don became a friend, and then we were brothers. I came into the church as the director, helped him with all those things. So there's a part of all of this that people don't understand, that I've been an architect. So Don is a brother. Now he's in other hands, and he's going to be there for a while. I'm on my own, so it's a little bit more difficult. But we built this kind of together. He built the tradition. He worked with all those people to tradition. I couldn't have done it. I'm not that much of a people person. And I built the constructions. I built the tools and have gotten other people into it. That's why I can never, when people ask me, are you going to start your own tradition? Oh, gosh, no. But that's it. Yeah. So that's how we met. And we've been friends, and we've on and off lived in the same house and everything else. But I will answer one other question that people have asked us for. Yeah, we may have had our proclivities of trying experimental sexual contact. People have always asked me that. But over the last 20-something years, no. Me and Don have very different tastes. Don is very now outspoken gay gentleman, and I'm known as an adventurer. That would take a whole show to explain that. But no, we've been business partners. We've been friends. We've been that sort of intimate but not sexual friendship, as deep as you can get.
Well said. Thanks for coming on the Lone Wolf Show. This is Witchcraft TV. We're launching on Samhain of 2023. Come back and see us again. Ed the Pagan, everyone.
Ed.
Blessing, blessed be to all. Happy Samhain.